I'm Liv, your emotionally exhausted, chronically online host. And every week we talk about life, relationships, internet chaos, bad decisions, awkward moments, and all the things that spiral way faster than they should. Welcome to This Escalated Quickly. Promise, no experts here, just messy honesty and terrible choices that make great stories.
Okay, ridiculous opening statement. I ghosted a date and walked out with their plant. Not metaphorically, actual pothos. I left their apartment single, emotionally vacant, and somehow also now responsible for a thriving piece of greenery named Evidence. If that sentence doesn't immediately sound like the messy headline of my life, I don't know what will. Here's how an ordinary swipe right turned into custody negotiations over a houseplant. Scene. It's a midweek dinner. The date seemed normal at first. We talked about neutral things like which grocery store has the worst bread and whether anyone actually does meal planning. I wasn't vibing, which is fair, and I made the adult decision to quietly ghost because sometimes a slow fade is less dramatic than a confrontation. Yes, I know, morally gray, but the alternative was an awkward crying laughing confession, and I only brought one napkin. After dessert, in that slightly tipsy, hurry out of the restaurant way, I got up and left. No grand exit, no speech, just me and a bad decision. Here's the part where logic detaches from reality. As I was leaving their apartment, so quickly my keys almost severed a cord, they said, "Oh, can you take my pothos? I have a meeting at dawn and can't keep it alive this week." I believed them. I thought, quick charity, I'll save a plant. Who am I to refuse a leafy life? 3 minutes later, I was in the street hugging a pot like a ransom exchange. Rationalizations happened instantly. It's for the plant turned into, I'm rescuing a living thing, which is exactly how bad breakups start, with an animal or a houseplant.
Then I got home, and the horror dawned not with a dramatic revelation, but with a very mundane feeling. Ownership. I set the pothos on my kitchen counter, and for the next 10 minutes I Googled very earnestly how to not kill a pothos. I sent a screenshot of the care guide to my best friends and opened an emergency group chat titled, "We Adopted a Plant, Advice or Intervention?" The chat responses were beautiful. Make sure it gets light, but not too much. Not like that relationship. Return it, Liv. You do not need more responsibility. Someone sent a meme of a tiny lawyer plant wearing a tie and the caption, "Custody battle begins." I tried to justify keeping it. It was their plant, but also technically in my possession now. They did say take it, and the plant had already chosen me by perkily leaning toward my mug of cold coffee. I started naming scenarios in my head. I'd water it, take Instagram-friendly photos, and maybe, if things went well, we'd both heal in separate apartments with the faint possibility of mutual avoidance. It was all very small and absurd and deeply me.
Escalation. The part where a plant became Exhibit A in a breakup. I reenacted the texts because what else are we doing with our lives if not reading receipts aloud? Friend, you didn't ghost them and keep the plant, right? Me typing, I rescued it. Them typing, is this a custody claim? Me, voice now, mock innocent. It was left behind. Then actual text from the ex-date, which I will imitate. Sarcasm, hey, thanks for taking my plant. Also, did you take anything else? Like a hoodie? To which I sent a single photo of the pothos looking smug and a caption, I took responsibility. They responded with a voicemail that had 3 layers, hurt, confusion, and a weirdly competitive tone about who was better at plant care. It went, Liv, so the pothos? I thought I left it on the balcony. Are you keeping it? Because I have a spray bottle and a playlist for it. I listened and considered all sorts of adult resolutions, splitting watering duties, arranging a neutral pickup zone like a botanical mediator, or staging a plant exchange in a parking lot like an awkward custody handoff. All of those felt ridiculous and petty and also extremely modern. Hot take. Plants are emotional evidence. A pothos is basically receipts in leaf form. If you break up, who keeps the plant says everything about how the relationship actually ended. The betrayer keeps the succulent. The nostalgic keeps the fern. Me keeping the pothos? It felt like clinging to proof that something happened, which is ridiculous because it was a low-stakes date. But the plant made the whole thing feel dramatic, sentimental, and slightly guilty.
Funny confession redux. I started giving the pothos tiny rituals. I would whisper updates like, Day 2, still thriving, and pretend I was doing reparations for the ghosting. I named the plant Evidence, half-jokingly, then felt weird, so I sometimes called it Sunny when I was feeling less dramatic. I found myself making sure it had the right light, trimming a yellow leaf like I was trimming emotional baggage, and yes, I played soft instrumental music once because who am I if not performatively caretaking an object to absolve guilt? And the lessons? Surprisingly earnest. 1. Be clear when you leave. Ghosting leaves a mess beyond awkward texts. It leaves items that turn into emotional property. 2. Don't adopt living things during an exit, especially if your emotional bandwidth is a 2 out of 10. 3. Friends are the best moral compass and the worst at moderating your chaos. They'll both roast you and give you plant care tips in the same breath, which is exactly what you need. Also, boundaries. Sometimes the right thing is returning the plant and saying, I'm sorry for leaving. Other times, the right thing is keeping the plant and donating it to a mutual friend who is actually good at watering things. There's no neat rulebook, only receipts, memes, and watering schedules.
Recap. I ghosted a date, walked away with a pothos, created a group chat therapy session, and learned that plants are weirdly persuasive evidence in modern recups. If today's episode made you laugh, wince, or look at your own houseplants with suspicion, then my job here is done. If you have an accidental adoption story, please, I beg you, leave a review, tell me the chaos, and share what became of your custody items. I read everything, and I will absolutely judge lovingly. Stay chaotic.
If today's episode made you laugh, question humanity, or feel slightly better about your own life choices, then my job here is officially done. I'll be back next week with another cringe file from the Chronicles of Adulting. Until then, stay chaotic.